Merry meet and welcome to Tarot Tuesday here at Ariel's Corner. This is Ariel Gatoga, and we are about ready to have a little tarot lesson today. We're going to be talking about the Hermit card. Before we do that, I'd just like to mention that we are streaming live on YouTube and on Twitch. Moderating today on YouTube are the lovely Dre and the lovely Heather, and moderating on Twitch is the lovely Deline. Thank you so much, moderators. And thank you to everybody for joining us for today's class on the tarot. I wonder what's on these cards. Anyway, we have a shop, and that's at arielscornershop.com, arielscornershop.com. Most of the decks that I work with are available in that shop. Those are affiliate links, and you can shop with those affiliate links and we get a small commission. So that's a nice thing to do. If you'd like to give us a donation, you can do that by going to paypal.me/arielgatoga, paypal.me/arielgatoga. If you're watching live on YouTube, you could also use a super sticker or super chat if you feel like giving a donation. If you're watching on a restream, you could use a super thanks. We do appreciate your support. Mostly, we just appreciate you being here for class today. We have a chat thread open on each of the streams, so if you have any questions for me, you can put them right in the chat thread, and I'll do my best to get to them before the end of the stream. I do need to end rather abruptly probably today just because I have to get to work. Just as a reminder, we won't be having class for the next, I think, 3 Tuesdays. If you want to make sure that you know all of my dates, be sure to get on my email list, and you can do that by filling out the form on my website. At the bottom of each and every page, there's a sign up for my email list, ariels-corner.com, Ariel's Corner with a hyphen.com, and I'll let you know for sure, sending out an email probably later today, and then maybe a follow-up later this week. I'm going to be gone on vacation, and so there won't be any streams and probably few, if any, uploads, depending on how much time I have. So we might just be rather dark for a few weeks, but I really am looking forward to my vacation, so I appreciate you being patient with me. All right, let's get going with our class today. Today we are working on the Hermit card. So let's start off with the Hermit from the basic Marseille deck. And you can see that he's got a staff and a lantern that he's holding aloft. His hood is off of his head. And he is definitely standing. He appears to be walking, or at least has been walking, because he's got that walking stick as in his hand, as if he was ready to walk. Now he's using the left hand to guide his walking and the right hand to hold aloft the lantern. He has a beard, pleasant face, longish hair. All right, let's see. Let's look at the Rider-Waite-Smith. We'll look at them also in comparison here. Now this one, he's definitely not mid-stride. He's stopped. He's looking down, almost maybe praying or something, as he holds aloft the lantern. He's got, inside the lantern is a 6-pointed star shining, and his staff is much bigger than the one in the old deck. He also is wearing a cape, but in this one he's hooded, and his beard is decidedly gray. All right, let's look at the Italian version of this. This one, he's also not wearing his hood. Very more similar to this one here, where he is holding a smaller staff. This one, you can see he's got sandals on his feet. The other two, you can't really see his feet. Well, this one, he appears to be on snow. He appears to be on snow here. This is not snow. This is obviously like a spring or summer day here. He's not really holding the lantern aloft like in these two. He's just kind of carrying it. He is looking straight at us here, which is different from all the other depictions. Okay, here's one from the 19th century. This is the Della Rocca. And this one, you can't see his feet, so we don't know about that, but he's definitely not hooded. He's bald, And his lantern is tiny. It's like this tiny little lantern. It's almost something like what you would use in those days to read with, rather than a lantern to guide your way on a path. All right, let's look at the Maria Celia version. This is a modern depiction of the Marseille deck. This one, he definitely does not have a gray beard, so the artist here has depicted this as being a little bit younger. Definitely not hooded, holding the lantern aloft. The walking stick is not really long enough to be a walking stick here, so it's so short that it's almost like a wand here. Stars in the background. We don't know what season it is. He's not looking straight at us. He's looking sort of off in the distance. All right, and then we have the Manly P. Hall version, which he's a little bit more similar to the Rider-Waite Smith in that he's hooded. His lantern is half obscured, which is different. He's using a shepherd's crook to walk with rather than a staff. And there's a serpent here, and I can't tell if those are pomegranates there. He's got a 5-pointed star as the symbol there. All right. So let's go from Manly P. Hall backwards, because the Manly P. Hall is really being the most explicit as to what the Hermit is. If there was ever an obvious depiction of what the term Lucifer is, it's the Hermit card. Literally the light bearer. Literally. But he's made sure to put other symbols in here to make his point, drive his point home. The shepherd's staff is very Luciferian. So is the serpent. So this is the shepherds, both in the Old Testament and in the New Testament, are oftentimes in Luciferian literature hearkened to. And then we've got the serpent, which is the serpent of wisdom, and also hearkens to that character in the Garden of Eden who was advocating to Adam and Eve to think for themselves and not listen to the voice, that voice was an imposter. It's not really God. So, and then bringing his enlightenment to everybody. So let's look in terms of what that means for us in a divinatory manner first. So if the Hermit comes up in a divination, it's when I read anyway, it's always an indication to have conference with that inner guidance. So Lucifer, in that sense, is not an entity. It's your own inner guidance. It's your own connection to higher wisdom within yourself. And that oftentimes, since that voice inside of our own mind that is wise can seem very different than the personality that we seem to wake with every day, that we walk around with, that it can seem like it's a different, separate entity. And that's where the idea of spirit guides and things like that come in. But in reality, what you're doing when you're connecting with that inner voice is, I'm talking esoterically. I was supposed to be talking about divination, but let me finish this thought. When you're talking with that inner voice, what you're really speaking to is you in your own right mind, you at your sanest, you at your most peaceful. So when you get that in a divination, it's always telling you to listen to that inner voice, to listen to the wisdom in your own mind, to allow yourself to be guided, to allow yourself to be led, to allow that light of wisdom to shine. And that if there's something that's not making sense to you, to not run around trying to find information to try to figure things out, but instead to ask specifically that light be shined on the situation, because this is a card of light and the bearing of light. So, go away. Somebody's trying to call me. All right. So now, more esoterically, when we understand that this is, when you are on this earth, every single one of us is on a path of initiation, whether or not we look at it as that. Now, many of us who decide to be on a path of initiation consciously, it seems to speed up our process. But even if you're not consciously on the path of initiation, you are on a path of growth and wisdom. You are moving into wisdom to find reunification with your soul. That's what everybody's here for in one form or another. So, but when we're on a more like a sort of a formal path of initiation, a true path of initiation, which can be associated with a group or with an actual tradition, but sometimes there's no name for it. When you have decided that I am an initiate, I am on the path of initiation, you always need a guide. And that guide is there for you to ask, to be taught. And the problem that people have is that they know that the guide is there intellectually, but they don't use the guide. They don't work with the guide. They don't allow themselves to be led by this light. They just say, oh, isn't that nice? There's that guide. And the guide is there. And I always recommend that when people are uncovering this guide in themselves, that they use it for everything. That recognize that it's just like, well, maybe I don't know anything. That's such a very important thing to understand when you're looking at this great teacher within you. Is, well, me as a personality, I don't know anything. Otherwise, why would I need a teacher? So even the stuff I think I know, I'm going to pretend I don't know it. I'm just going to assume that everything I've learned from this world is wrong, that the entire thing is wrong, that I'm so off the mark, and this whole world is so off the mark that I don't know a thing. And I'm going to start from there. And so I don't know what's good for me to order for dinner. I don't know what's good for me to do as far as buying a car. I don't know what's good for me to do as far as, whatever tiny little tasks are each and every day. I'm going to get used to asking for guidance. I'm going to get used to asking that the light be shined on this situation, that situation, this situation, not the things that only the things that I think are big, because I don't know what's big. I think I know what's big. My ego tells me what's big and what's small. My ego says, oh, you can never solve that problem, right? And the ego says, oh, you don't need to call on your teacher for that because it's so insignificant. You can figure that out. Well, what if my ego is lying to me? What if all of that is a big ruse to keep me stuck on a treadmill? So what if I just instead say, I don't know what anything means, including this, whatever this happens to be, whatever is ahead of me. And I recommend that attitude, to come back to that again and again and again. I don't know what anything is, including this, but I'm willing to be shown. I'm willing to be taught. I don't know how to respond to this. I know how my knee-jerk reaction is to respond to this situation, but I don't know. I'm probably wrong. So I'm going to ask that the light be shined on that. I'm going to ask to be shown. And you start to differentiate the difference between the voice of this teacher, which is always something that's peaceful and enlightening, versus the voice of the ego mind, which is reactive and fast and loud and arrogant. I wrote a blog post about that a couple weeks ago. I can't remember what it's called. Something about, I think it's called Walking the Way of the Magus or something like that. I think that's what it's called. And it's all about differentiating between the two voices, hearing one voice over the other. Because you do. You think of that old image of you have an angel on one shoulder and a devil on the other shoulder. What that is it's you have a voice for that is guiding you toward your soul's journey, and then you've got your own ego that's guiding you toward separating and self-destruction. And unfortunately, in this world that we live in, this world is a binary. That's what this world is. There's two. There's the truth and there's the non-truth. But if you follow the truth, you recognize there is no binary, because the non-truth is an illusion. So the illusion of the binary is the problem. But while you're in the binary, you have to recognize that even though it appears like you have a choice between two things, one is real and the other one is fake. The other one is a construct. And the real one is this lantern. The real one is this light of understanding, this light of wisdom that comes through at all times. And just to be clear, this has always been with you. You've never been left unattended. You've never been left without this hermit. So you don't have to call it Lucifer if you're still one of those people that believes that old myth that Lucifer is Satan, which is incorrect. You don't have to call it that. You can call it whatever you want. You can call it Jesus. You can call it the Holy Spirit. You can call it your spirit guide. You can call it whatever. And the guide will come in whatever form is most appropriate for you. It's very good at meeting you where you are. So if that means that's an animal totem for you, fine. But there's still going to be that lantern of in one way or another where it can light your path. It can show you the truth versus the illusion. So any form that your inner guide takes is a temporary form because it's formless ultimately. It's formless. This is just a picture to give you a sense of it. But the truth about your guide is that it's, like I said before, your own right thinking, which is so different than the way you're used to thinking that it seems like a separate entity. But it's the truth of who you are, absent of that personality, absent of that ego mind, absent of those self-destructive tendencies. So there is a meditation based on the Hermit card that I have that you may want to listen to, and it is called Working with Your Inner Guide. And it's not a very long meditation, and I might I might listen to that if I were you, if that's something that you like to do, is listening to guided meditations. You can find it on my website, ariels-corner.com, Ariel's Corner with a -.com. Now, I did give a lecture, and I just posted it on YouTube yesterday on Lucifer as Jesus. And I have a whole series on Lucifer, but that's just one, just because I'd been asked about it so many times, who Jesus is and what, how that corresponds with the craft. And so I just kind of gave you some ideas about it. And there's going to be a blog post based on that lecture as well that I have written that I haven't released. So that'll probably come out over the next week as well. But look forward to some other posts and lectures on that concept of Lucifer. And I also have some other things on my website and on my YouTube channel about it. And I have a booklet called The Ancient Story of Lucifer that you may want to read that might help you as far as understanding what this guidance really is for you. But remember, all stories they're just stories. And all of a true myth or a true story just reflects different aspects of your own mind and your own there's psychological principles are what those characters are. And so it's not some external entity that we're talking about. It's your own right thinking. It's your own right-mindedness is what this character here represents. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you. I'm going to see if we have any questions before we end. We do not. So thank you for being here. I will be back in a few weeks. I adore you very much. Thank you so much to the amazing moderator team. Today we had Dre, Heather, and Deline. And we will see you real soon. Much, much love and many, many blessings.